Hey, what's up? I'm Cylic, and welcome back to Etheria Restart. In today's video, I wanted to go over some units that I have found super helpful for the early game of Etheria Restart. But before I get into that, I just want to say that I have been extremely addicted to this game and been playing it a ridiculous amount. So I'm definitely going to be making a lot more content in this game, both in long form and short form content. So expect more of the mini guides for shorts and more videos like this for long form content. But yep, in today's video, I just wanted to go over some characters that are really good for early game progression and help a lot, and I feel like most people should be building. But yeah, let's get right into the video. So, to start, I want to go over characters that everyone will have, regardless, and they're either given to you for free, or they're SRs that are RGB, meaning most people will have them. So yeah, let's go right into it. So first up is, I'm just going to talk about Leon first. First character everyone gets from that first pull. Everyone has her very simple, straightforward DPS. She is just a AoE DPS that does a lot of damage. She's normal attack, crit scaling. That's literally it. Like, I think her S3, yeah, her S3 turns seals too, but it's not a very important part of her kit. But yeah, she's really worth investing into, purely because, well, the main thing is the hyperlink charter. Pretty much everybody has to build her. If you don't build her, you don't get this, and that's awful. You definitely want to build her for this. I'm not saying she's bad, but this is the most important reason that everyone has to play her. You don't necessarily have to use her, but you have to build her up through this at least. As you do kind of have to play her, because he's like right here. You have to play Leon to defeat Nightmare Termaton. So yeah, this is the number one reason for building Leon. But that doesn't mean she's bad. She is actually quite good too. For early game PvE, can be your main DPS if you don't have other units that might be better. And the only units that are generally better than her for like early game main DPS could be maybe Tiamat, maybe Messiah or Rosa. Well, not even Rosa because early game she's bad, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Pretty much she's quite good for early game. That's a lot of damage, and her actual best use is definitely Termaton. She's the best Termaton DPS in the game, other than maybe Messiah. But for early on, you very well might not have Messiah, but everyone has Leon. So, like, for example, in my Termaton team, I am using Leon as my main DPS right here. And she does majority of the damage. She's very strong for Termaton. Works very well. But yeah, that is Leon. And then the next unit I want to talk about is also given to everyone for free, right in the first cutscene, I think. Gray. Gray is very strong just because he gives a crit buff on the S2. And that is very massive. Like, it is so helpful. It also gives an extra turn, which is obviously very strong, because his F3 is a Death Shred on all enemies if he crits, which is really good. Mainly because of the crit rate buff, though, because crit rate is really hard to get early on. So if you just make him able to crit, you can just build all your characters with 30 less crit rate if you're opponent Gray. Even though you'll probably have one turn where you're not guaranteed to crit, because Gray's buff isn't permanent. But it's still really nice, and it makes building characters way easier, and it's really nice early on. And Death Shred is obviously amazing, but a lot of other characters have this, or better versions of it, I should say. Alright, and then next up would be Dina. Dina is a very nice debuffer in this game. So, somewhat similar to Gray, her skill 3 is a Death Shred, but if the enemy is already Death Shredded, she applies Vulnerable, and if they're already vulnerable, she applies Erosion. Pretty much, the more she attacks enemies, the more she applies debuffs, and the higher the debuff, the more damage everyone deals. Vulnerable is damage taken, erosion is increased crit damage, stuff like that. But she is just she's someone that everyone should have and everyone should build, even though technically she's not a free unit, you'd have to pull her, but most people are going to have her. She's just a normal RGBSR. You might not, it's possible to not have her, but I think majority of people's accounts will have her. But yeah, she's another really good unit that everyone can totally use. She's not mandatory by any means, but again, her main content that she is really good for is Terror, and actually Aurora too. Aurora is less of an early game thing because you need to be a rank 30, but she's really good for Terror. Most people's Terror teams use her, especially one-shot teams. But yeah, she's very good for early on, super helpful. Next unit I want to talk about would be Kazuya the Reverie, sorry. She's really good just for Doki Doki. That's the only real use for her, but it's kind of mandatory to be fair, because everyone needs to run Doki Doki, and the only other unit that can do what she does for Doki Doki is Kraken. And so if you don't have Kraken, or you don't want to build Kraken, she's better than Kraken for Doki Doki anyway. So if you're just putting a unit for Doki Doki, everyone should build her. She's free. She's I don't want to say mandatory, but pretty much. If you're not building Kraken, she is pretty much mandatory because her S3 sleeps, and you need AoE CC and consistent CC in Doki Doki. That is pretty much mandatory to clear it. And she is the best at that, as every character. It's really nice, really consistent, really strong. But yeah, honestly, that is it for her. Like, her only real use is Doki Doki, but you pretty much need it, so. And the last character in this section is going to be Sonya, who I actually don't have, which is funny because it's in the free to obtain section, but I'm just very unlucky. 90% of accounts, if not like 95%, will have a Sonya. But I don't really need her anyway, so I'm not really worried about it. The reason I say Sonya, she is just, out of the RGB units, by far the best SR healer. 100%. Her passive is just really nice. Every time she takes a turn, she cleanses and heals 2 teammates for base out for max HP. It's very nice. Her S3 revives and increases max HP, which is actually pretty nice too. So she is just a very nice, convenient unit that if you just build her really fast, really HP, like stack a bunch of HP, she heals a bunch and on every one of her turns, regardless of if she has a skill up, which is really nice. By the way, she can be used in pretty much every content except Aurora. If you have her in your building her, you probably use her literally everywhere except Aurora until the 7th day, and then you get Ling Low, and you use Ling Low everywhere but Terror. But now that's going to do it for every character in the free / easily obtainable section. So next characters are they're just as good, or if not better, but everyone might not have them. And the first character I'm going to talk about is Lily. What most people rerolled for, but most people consider probably the best character in the game, or at least one of. Lily is very, very strong. She can be used in effectively every team and every content, which is pretty ridiculous. She is completely universal. Every DPS character in the game uses her buffs, because she gives them extra turn meter and extra speed and crit damage. So even if someone doesn't care about crit, Lily is still best on slot most of the time, because she just gives them so many turns. Her S3 CD resets, her S1 makes them basic attack when she does it. It's so strong. She's ridiculous. And for early on, that's really nice, just having a really solid support in case you didn't get one from your reroll. She's just very, very nice, because so you don't get one for free. She's really, really nice. Amazing for that. Next character would be Messiah, who I do not have. I don't think I have many of the rest of these characters. Messiah is the most generically strong damage dealer in the game, in general. Like, I am saying generic, because he can be used in pretty much every content except maybe Union Boss, where he's a little bit weaker than some of the units, but otherwise he's very strong, does crazy damage. His S3 gives him invincibility, and ignores defense and passive, so very strong. He's also amazing in PvP, but that's not really the point of this video. But yeah, he does crazy damage, gives himself invincibility, and does stuff like that. Very good, but most people don't have him. But if you do have him, totally use him. You can use him for literally everything in the game, and he's minimum decent, usually amazing. Next up character would be Valerian, who is my personal sustainer because she's the one I have. But she is, with Sonya, the best SR sustainer. One of the best SR sustainers, I should say. She, pretty much what makes her good is, she's very unique, and when she S3s, she gives this weird buff to herself that makes it so whenever one of your allies takes a turn, they get a shield equal to percent of Valerian's max HP and a random basic buff effect that they don't already have. So she can actually buff their damage, defense, or speed, which is really nice actually. It's really convenient, and also gives really good shields. And then her S2 gives invincibility to one target ally, which is actually really, really convenient a lot of times, and gives healing over time to all of your allies. So yeah, she's a very consistent healer that I would argue can be a lot better than Sonya in a lot of scenarios, but not having a lot of, she doesn't have a lot of pure healing, so she can fall off in certain scenarios as well. But she's really nice, amazing, can easily go for the first 7 days of the game, and after those first 7 days, you stop to Ling Low for most content except Terror. That is just the case for sustains in this game. They just need to last you for 7 days, then you get Ling Low, and then use Ling Low for everything but Terror after that point. For Terror, you can use any of these units, or like a Hell Kit is technically best. But yeah, next unit would be Kloss, who I do not own. So let me pull them up in the summon menu. But the next unit we have up is Kloss. Kloss is a very, very strong generic debuffer, who, out of the damage enhancing debuffers in the game, she is probably the strongest generic one for early game progression, other than maybe Heinrich, but he's a little different. But what she does is she applies this really unique buff, the hacking progress. The hacking progress debuff is actually really nice since it reduces the damage the enemies deal as well as increases the damage dealt to the enemies. And her S3 also is a speed down for 2 turns, so she's really strong. They just recently changed her hacking progress buff or debuff used to also it decreased speed from here, and it could stack with speed down. But they changed that, and it's now stronger for short fights, but worse for long fights in theory. Doesn't really matter though. She's super strong for early game. She can replace Gray most of the time. She can be used pretty much everywhere except where she's elemental disadvantaged, like Aurora. But everywhere else, super nice. She can even still Terminator on the second skill. She's very strong and pretty much can just replace Gray on your account. Even though she doesn't buff crit rate, she does very similar things and generically is just a slightly better damage buffer. As a debuffer, I should say. And then the last unit, and probably one of my favorite units, is Marvel. Marvel is awesome. I love this guy. His S3 is like one of the most overloaded buttons in the game. It has a 100% chance, the skill level 4, to inflict 2 turns speed down and rest down, as well as a 6% chance to decrease turn meter by 30%, which is ridiculous. To all enemies, this is insane. This is the whole reason he's good, is his S3. Marvel is good in literally everything in the game except Union Boss, and absolutely insane, especially in Doki Doki and Terror, where the reducing the enemy's turns and slowing them down can pretty much really easily allow you to take 2 turn cycles before the enemies take 1, which can make one-shots really, really easy. So he's amazing. His S2 is a Silence, which is nice for PvP, not really that relevant for PvE. And then his S1 is still really nice. It steals turn meter. The chance is pretty low, but you build him on a lot of effect accuracy, so generally this can still pretty consistently land, which is nice. But yeah, that is actually the last unit. So that is all the characters I wanted to cover today. But all of those units are incredibly strong, and even though there are units that I didn't cover, plenty of those units are very strong. Like Heinrich, he's amazing. I just think he's not necessarily someone you need for early game progression and is more useful later on in the game. But he's still amazing if you have him totally built up. I'm not saying the units on here are bad early game. These are just the ones that stood out to me the most. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's video. Thanks so much for watching, and it would really help if you could like and subscribe.